All right, I'm going to show you how to install the 575 electric actuator. The 575 is a replacement or a substitute for the handle, which typically opens and closes the seat gate. Instead, we can electrically open and close the seat gate with this actuator set up. First things first, this little tab at the far end of the electric actuator itself, we're going to go ahead and remove it and install it first. Typically when you're starting a build here in the white line, the first step would be adding these 3-inch or 1/2 inch by 3 bolts on either side with 2 washers as spacers. However, when we're installing the 575, you're just going to have the right side with the 2 spacer washers. The left side is going to get 1 washer each, and that tab we just removed from the 575. To install it correctly, we want that eye hole facing towards the back of the unit and on the left side of the bracket. So it should get installed just like that. Now, if you've seen any of my other videos, I'd imagine you know how to do this already. Nobody's going to get those bolts lined up at the bottom there. Use our handy dandy bender bar. Bend that L bracket into place. Holy shitachi. We might need ground out a little bit. Let's get our grinder. Alright, if you've seen any of my other videos, which I'm sure you have if you're installing a 575, you know how to put these bolts in, but just in case, you're going to grab your handy dandy bender bar here, bend that upper L slightly back just to change the angle of it so you can fit those 3-inch long bolts up underneath. Go ahead and flip your bar around to come from the outside. Change the angle back the other direction so your bolts don't fall out. Boom. Now go on to your other side and obviously put your bolts in. For the purposes of this video being a 575 install, I am not going to bother showing you guys how to correctly install the gearbox and the fan and all that. If you need to know how to do that, I have other videos explaining it. We're just going to focus on the 575. So remember to put that tab on first. If you do not, you're going to have to take that whole entire gearbox off of there and go back to step 1 and install that tab. I have a time or two in the past got through the entire build and got all the way to installing the 575 and forgot that I had left the tab off. So just for the love of God, do not forget. The only thing that's important for you to know about the base here and the 575 is that the 575 has its own seat gate. So if you already have the normal seat gate installed on your assembly C, go ahead and take off your seat gate stop or your seat gate gauge. Set those parts to the side because you are still going to need them, and remove that original seat gate. You can't reinstall the 575 seat gate right now because it is attached to the 575. So once we get around to that portion of the install, I'll show you what to do. If you are doing this at home, you are going to need to remove your deflector shield before you are going to be able to remove your old seat gate. So just keep that in mind. If you're doing this at home and you're installing a 575, go ahead and remove that deflector shield and set it off to the side. You will be needing it again, but it will be in the way of you removing the seat gate gauge. I do not have a deflector shield installed on this yet, obviously, since I'm just starting to build. But if you do, it is simply 2 metal screws, one on either side. Just go ahead and pull those out. And those holes should still be good for you to do a reinstall. One other difference between installing a 575 and your typical base here. When you are tightening down your bolts on the L's here, your L brackets, for this side specifically, make sure you push this bracket all the way forward as far as it can, and then lock it down. Alright, now it's time to install our 575. Now you can do one of two things. You can remove your seed gate, put it in first, and then attach the rest of your unit, or you can leave it attached to the 575 bracket and just work it in there. The electric actuator portion itself, if I can get this to focus, goes right over the top of that here. And we'll take our handy dandy pin and cotter pin situation that I told you to set aside earlier, and it will go down in this hole here, just like that. Now we're going to swing the other side of our 575 underneath this frame bar here. Affix it just like so with the parts that are included. Your lock washer and nut on the bottom, obviously. Go ahead and get those started. And then come back through with your wrench or your impact or whatever and lock them down tight. I don't know if you can see in this video. Yeah, you can. If you did install the seed gate before or after you did this, when you do attach your seed gate to this bracket, this tab here is welded so that the seed gate fits right underneath of it, nice and snug. So make sure your seed gate is underneath the tab here, and your bolt, your stainless steel bolt will affix it to the bracket. One thing I want you to pay attention to is I have the bracket mounted as far left as I can. And the reason why I'm doing that is, one, the deflector shield still needs to fit on here. If it doesn't fit for whatever reason, you can cut your deflector shield down slightly on this side so you can still mount. But the other reason is the further over you go over here, it gives more tension to the actuator here in the center as it collapses and refolds on itself. It allows it to actuate properly the further over you are. Sometimes I'll get calls from people and their actuator isn't working. It's because they've mounted it too far this way. So I just want you to slide it all the way over this way as much as you can. Now this unit that I'm working on right now is called a scooper, and it's basically a 750 that's been upgraded with some heavy armor. But it's the same exact setup. The same exact setup will be for all the different units we use this on: the 750, the scooper, the 550, and the 1200. We'll have the same exact install. All right, the nuts on this U-bolt over here are 1/2-inch nuts, so you'll be using a 3/4 inch either wrench or socket on an impact, air tool, or just a regular old ratchet. Either way is fine, but you're just gonna evenly tighten both sides. Probably help if I have it go in the right direction. We're going to do a little bit on each side first. There we go. Perfecto mundo. Alright, now that we have the 575 completely installed, we're going to test it and make sure that it's working properly. I use the battery off of one of our impacts, and to the far right you'll have a negative that's where you'll put your negative fork. Far left, you'll have a positive, and that's where you put your positive fork. The 575 comes with this switch here, and we'll see if she works. All right, it's actuating all the way in and all the way out. Now we're going to install our seed gate gauge, and that will be a complete install to 575. All right, the seed gate gauge has a top and a bottom portion. It'll have a nut, lock washer, and washer. I don't have the washer on me. I dropped it somewhere. Hold on. There she is. But since our unit is upside down, our bottom is going to be on our top. And if you notice, you have your two ears here and the center portion. That center portion is going to run up and down the channel of your base plate here. And so we want the ears to the back. Something I nearly forgot to mention, in order to install that seed gate gauge, we're going to have to move the seed gate out of the way. And so just take you a couple of 7/16 wrenches. This is a lock nut on here, so you'll need to hold one side while you twist the other. Just undo that bolt, move it to the side, and then set your seed gate gauge in, and then you can reinstall your seed gate. Come on, baby. Come on. And there she goes. Alright, just go ahead and push that off to the side. And with it out of the way, we'll be able to get our seed gate gauge to sit flat in that channel. Just like so. Now go ahead and reinstall your seed gate, and remember to put the seed gate underneath the tab here. All right, something that's important to note here, when you reinstall your seed gate, attaching it to the bracket here, this lock nut, we want it to be tight, but we don't want it to be so tight that it's not moving, because as this actuator actuates, this portion or this seed gate needs to be able to kind of swivel around that nut slightly. So we don't want to be able to easily move it with our fingers. Like, we don't want to be able to turn it with our fingers, but we want to easily be able to move it with the wrench. That's about the correct tightness for that bolt. All right, for our last step, we're going to finish installing our seed gate gauge. And since we already have our bottom portion attached, I've got a second one here to show you that there's only really one way the top portion of the seed gate will fit onto your seed gate gauge. If you notice that there is a long end and a short end, and then if you look where the carriage bolt hole is here, there's a short end and a long end, so it'll fit just like so. If you put it in the other way, it's going to sit kind of wonky in that channel, and you will know. It's not going to sit flat like it's supposed to. But when you do install it, just go ahead and put it in. You have your carriage bolt already in yours. Go ahead and put your washer, lock washer, and nut, and tighten it down. And then for operation, you're going to want to loosen that, move it to the opening that you're looking for, and then tighten it back down. And that will stop your seed gate at that point. And that will conclude this video. It is correctly installed. The last thing that you will have to do, I'm not going to do that in this video. I have a bunch of other stuff I need to do to this unit specifically. The last thing you'll need to do as a customer or as someone here at Casco building one of these units is to install your deflector shield. And as I said earlier in the video, if your unit, the 1200, typically you don't have to. Sometimes the 750 you don't have to. But if your deflector shield is too long to fit next to this U-bolt, you can just go ahead and just bandsaw off a portion of that deflector shield so that it fits between your frame here. Now, if you're at home, you probably had to remove your deflector shield, so you will still have your holes on either side, and those should still work for you. If for whatever reason they are a little too high or too low to allow that deflector shield to sit correctly between your fan blades and your seat gate itself, then you can move the deflector shield over slightly, drill new holes at its proper height or at the correct height, so that your deflector shield isn't coming into contact with either your fan blades or your seat gate itself. All right, good luck. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.